Cool. Well, I just want to welcome everybody to today's episode. We have Mr. Ryan Snod, and a very amazing creator, filmmaker, videographer, marketer, YouTuber, kind of a lot of things. Husband now. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
And how does that feel, by the way? How long have you been with your wife before you got married?
Yeah, we've been together for 9 years. I'm 25, so we met when I was 16 in high school, and
So cool.
yeah, so we've been
Wow.
together a long time for how young we are. We've been together a long time.
So you probably don't really feel that different then.
No, we've lived together for almost 4 years, and just finally got married 2 or 3 weeks ago now. So we're happy it's over because of the whole COVID situation. So
That's funny. Yeah, I've been married since 2017, and we're only together like a year and a half before, but it doesn't really feel different, actually. The only thing that I notice for me that's different is if we have a disagreement, there's a much more incentive to like figure it out because you're like, I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Let me make sure that this doesn't become some like future thing, because I like to look at other people and see how their lives develop, and I realize that there's couples that and I didn't mean for this to turn into a relationship episode, but there's couples that they kind of get married too quick or whatever, and then they just kind of like blow up or implode or whatever, and
Mhm.
and then there's couples though that things don't appear like wrong, but then like they have kids, and then as soon as the kids go to college, they're like, I'm done with you, and
Sure.
I'm like, what goes wrong with those
Sure.
marriages? And I realized
Well,
those marriages they feel like they're like death by a thousand cuts, like they build up
mhm.
all this kind of stuff that they never deal with, and then without kids they have no incentive to like stay together. And so
Sure.
for
Well,
me,
and
I'm
and
like,
for us, I was always I've always been really clear with Paige, my wife, like what my goals are and what I want to
mhm,
try to achieve in life, and that's
mhm,
been really big for us because we're currently on our debt-free journey as well, which we don't have to
nice.
get into super deep, but
Yeah.
we've been, I mean, after I got out of private college, which I put myself through, I
Mm,
was buried in like 116 grand
sure.
in student loan debt.
Yeah.
So once we aligned kind of like what we wanted our life to look like, and we just got a new house like right on the lake, which I was telling you a little bit ago, which is kind of like what we want our life to be like.
Mhm.
But just kind of cool to build a life together with somebody and kind of align with what you want to do, and then
Yeah.
they can help you and you can help them. It's just kind of a cool thing. So if
Yeah, and
you're
I think what you said is true. You have to be very upfront, because even before we got married, I told her exactly what I wanted and what kind of lifestyle I wanted, and she told me what she wanted, and we were aligned on that. And I think that's important, and that way you could grow together. And the cool part I realized is that when you're with somebody and you get to see them evolve and grow, that's actually really rewarding. It's just as rewarding or more rewarding sometimes than even seeing yourself grow. It's like just knowing
sure.
where they started. And then so anyways, kudos to you. If you want to do a quick intro in terms of what who you are and professionally and what you do in that aspect, that'd be great.
Sure. Thanks for having me on the show, man. So
Yeah.
my name's Ryan Snod. It rhymes with odd. That's what I always tell people. It's kind of hard to spell and pronounce, but I'm a video marketer based here in Des Moines, Iowa. So central Iowa. And I help brands grow with video in a lot of different ways. There's three main things that I do professionally. So the first is I work full-time as a marketing strategist for a creative studio here in Des Moines. It's called Applied Art and Technology. We work with large companies to develop market strategy, and me specifically, I work with the clients and our creative teams to kind of build out a market strategy that gets these companies results. So been doing that for about 4 years. And then I also run my own business, Snod Media Group, which is a video production business where I'm the owner and operator. I've been doing that for about 5 or 6 years now. And I mainly shoot with small businesses, and I love shooting with fitness clients. So gyms, CrossFit boxes, yoga studios. That's kind of how I got my start into video, was making fitness videos and hype videos and stuff like that. So been doing that. Absolutely love doing that type of stuff. And then a couple years ago, I started doing that, and a lot of my videographer buddies were asking me questions about how I started marketing and sales and how I was like closing some of these clients. Because in my full-time gig, I'm in these conversations with large companies that are closing multi-six-figure deals, and it's normal to me. But all these people, once the topic of money or business comes up, a lot of my videographer friends were kind of freezing. They don't know what to charge. They didn't know how to market themselves or run a business.
Hmm.
So a couple years ago, I started a YouTube channel, helping videographers grow their business in the video and business side of things. And then I also started a Facebook group and an online course, which we can all talk about later. But those are kind of the three things that I do from a 10,000 foot view. So
It's a lot. And I definitely want to go into your history. A quick question though is your job doesn't care that you have a production company, or how does that work?
yeah, they don't mind it. The types of clients that I work with compared to the clients that our company works with,
Just
they're very
totally
different.
different. Yeah.
Yeah, but they're like very large companies with huge budgets. They're working with agencies. They've got
Hmm.
20 to 50 person crews on set. It's just such
Yeah.
a different type of client.
Yeah.
Where with me, I script, shoot, edit. I'll run the ads for it. Like I'm a one man band type thing. And that's the one thing that I don't do a whole lot at my full time job, and that's why I continue to shoot is because I like the creative process. But
Hmm.
um, it's just kind of like I just love the entire part of video marketing. Like they're super chill with that. So.
Sweet. So tell me, how did you get started? Like, what was your first experience with the video camera?
Yeah. So like I mentioned, fitness was kind of my in. I've always been a really avid weightlifter, fitness nut. I've been lifting weights for like 13 years. So really big into that.
Uh-huh.
And when I was in college, I was watching a lot of these people in the fitness industry on YouTube just killing it, like
Mm.
Christian Guzman and Charlie Coker and
Mhm.
Max Tuning and Steve Cook and all these different names of people. If you're not in the industry, you probably are like, who the heck are these people? But
Mm.
there are big YouTubers that were just documenting what they're eating, what, their workout regimen and just like lifestyle stuff. Right.
Mm.
And I was in college and I'm like, man, I just really want to do this and like connect with people. So I just started a YouTube channel. So I started recording my workouts, showing like recipes to make in college. And my whole YouTube channel was based around helping college students with their health and fitness. Right. The
Mm.
problem was I didn't differentiate at all. I just tried to be like all these people that I saw on YouTube and nobody watched my videos. Like I
Right.
was creating videos every week for a year. Nobody watched it. So
Yeah.
I took a break for a while. And then after a while, people started seeing my videos and like, man, the production quality is like actually pretty good.
Yep.
Would you mind shooting a video for me? So then
Mm.
I started doing stuff on campus. I started shooting for nonprofits. And then I landed my first big gig over a summer, which was working as a marketing intern for like one project where they just needed interviews of CEOs.
Mm.
And so I basically had a free project that I did, but that project made me interview the 9 most wealthy and influential people in the entire town.
Beautiful.
And
Yeah.
exactly. So I didn't even know what I was doing at the time, but I was building those connections of potential clients in the future. So that's kind of what launched me into video production and doing that type of thing. So I had just a terrible computer. I had just a crappy Canon DSLR. And my first year, I worked at Target at the time, and I went and bought a $350 Canon. I think it was a T5, not even a T5i, not even a flip screen,
Right.
no slow-mo, a very crappy camera. So I bought that camera for $350. And in that first year, I made like 10 grand just shooting little videos here and
Wow.
there.
Wow.
And I was 20 years old. I'm like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
This business is like heavy profit margin. Like there's not, once you get your camera, like if you actually have your equipment and stuff, it's pretty lucrative. I was like,
Yeah.
dang, this is pretty sweet. So I took that 10 grand and bought a bunch of better camera gear. I've had that same stuff the last 5 or 6 years, and I was kind of off to the races after that. So started shooting for fitness influencers on YouTube, kind of growing their YouTube channel. I traveled a little bit for that, and then started to shoot for brands, fitness brands here in Iowa, and hype videos for schools and stuff like that. And that's kind of how I got my start into video. So
Wow. You must have loved that camera.
yeah,
First
I
camera
actually
made
just
you a
sold
lot
it
of
like
money.
2 months ago. I kind of shed a tear. I was like, take it. Just
Yeah,
take
it's like your first car, you know. So that's kind of incredible actually, because most people don't even have that kind of success when they start. So how did you even learn the business skills to be able to make 10 grand with that camera, you know?
Yeah. So at the same time I was starting to do video production, I was also going to college for business and marketing.
Mm. Mhm.
And as a part of my college education, I was in a group which my senior capstone or my senior project, some people write a dissertation or have something they got to do. At
Mhm.
my college, it was you had to start a business.
Ah.
So I had an actual assigned thing where I had to find a problem and create a business around it. So my group created a student-run marketing agency, basically where we helped um, musicians, people with talent on campus to connect them to gigs with the
Mhm.
local community. So I did that for the full first year and then kind of got plugged into the entrepreneurship community and really dove into that the year of college. But I also thought when I went to college that I was going to go work, a large insurance company in Des Moines. It's huge here. We've got like different ones, and I went and met all these people, and I'm like, oh, what do you do? And they're like, oh, I'm an adjuster 3. And then their eyes just glaze over, and I'm like, I don't want to work here. So
Yeah. I don't even know what that is. That sounds like a depressing job, though. I'll tell you.
Right. So I'm like, and I was kind of interested in entrepreneurship, and I'm like, okay. So then I kind of went and ran with my own business that way, and kind of used my own business as a guinea pig to learn marketing and how to run ads and how to do email campaigns and how to cold call and stuff. And I had a couple sales internships when I was in college, so I had some sales experience. So I learned kind of how to talk to people and run the business side of it. So
that's incredible. I think most videographers that I talk to, they start off just making videos because they want to, and then it's a real struggle to figure out the business side, because they really just focus on, they go deep really quickly on the gear, on the artistic side, the creative expression, and then they're just at a complete loss. And I don't blame them, because I went through that myself. And when you're studying, like, let's say you're a filmmaker, you go to film school, they don't teach you any business skills. They just teach you how to shoot, and then they just throw you into the wild, which is why most filmmakers end up having horrible 9-to-5 jobs while they're trying to like live their dream. So I noticed the people who come from a business background or marketing background, they definitely have a much better leg up. So what are some skills, like 3 to 5 skills, you think people should focus on in the beginning if they're starting off with their production company on the business?
Oh, for sure. I love that question. So I would say the big thing is like, figure out what niche you want to shoot and figure out what's important to those people. Right. So that's the thing. That's the huge disconnect I see from creatives with the client, is that you're worried about this tech specs and you're trying to sell them on, it's 4K. It's like, I got a red camera. They don't care.
They don't care.
They want, what's the result? What am I going to get? If I pay you to shoot this video, what am I going to get out of it? You need to really figure out interpersonal skills. So speaking with people, getting to those questions and figure out how to talk to people. That's probably the number one skill, is like, learn how to speak your client's language. And it's different with each client, because like I said, I shoot fitness. The gym owners have different concerns than an executive for a company or something. But really learn how to speak your client's language. I would say second, really be intentional with your investment. I know a lot of people invest in gear and they focus so much on what camera specs and lighting and stuff. Like I spend very minimal every year on gear, unless it gets me to another step. Like I bought a 360 camera, and then I just shot a virtual tour for a college for a couple $1,000s. So I'm like, oh, sweet. That just paid for itself. Right. So it's like, you have to be really intentional about the gear you buy and make sure it's actually an investment, and it's not just you using your company credit card because you have money and cool, and you just do it that way. I don't, was that 3? I think maybe I got 2
3 right there. That was 3. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But yeah, I would say interpersonal is so key. And just like, that's the biggest disconnect I see in the industry when I talk to people, is they don't know how to talk to clients and understand the client's value and how they can sell it to people. So
actually, I don't know if it was 3. We don't have to count.
It sounded good.
Yeah. Those are great tips. And that's actually something I discovered too, the hard way. Cause obviously I was very into the gear and stuff, and thinking, oh, I got to buy this camera. And I think the problem is people who don't have a business background, they go backwards. They think buying the camera is going to get them the work, but actually having the business skills will get you the work, and then you could buy whatever camera you want. And also I talk to people that are run commercial production companies and stuff when I was learning, and I realized they don't even own their gear. They just rent it. The clients are paying for it. And so you just need a workhorse. You need a camera that's gonna, I think, when you're starting out, obviously you just need a cheap camera to start, like you said, like a $300, $500 camera, I think is a great way to start. And then, but once you get to that level where you're like, okay, I want to go full time or whatever, I would just say like a camera that, like something that you can run XLR to and do audio and video at the same time, or something. I think actually the main thing when you're starting out is being able to record for a long period of time is also a big one, because you do a lot of conferences and live events and things like that. And at least I did in my area. And so I think, but that does go back to knowing your niche. So you did say 3 things.
There we go.
I think I always tell people that now, as I push that on them, is you can't actually like your whole business is model and your services and how you pitch yourself and the solutions you're offering. It's all centered around the niche because everybody is different on what they're expecting for results on and how to get there, you know?
Mhm.
So then how did you like evolve your rates and stuff? Like what did you do to kind of level up from, or where did you start like per project? And then like, how did you kind of evolve that to higher rates?
Sure. Yeah. So, like I said earlier off camera, I think it was mainly my kind of anchor was if they couldn't afford $500 for a project, I would just do it for free if I really felt
Mm,
that that project would connect me with
the right
clients
people.
down the road.
Hmm.
And kind of my rule of thumb with that type of stuff too is a lot of people say, should you work for free? I always say never work for free if the client suggests it or offers it as an option. If the client's like, hey, you just, we
Yeah,
can't
those
pay
people
you.
usually suck.
Yeah, they're going to want everything from you and they're not going to pay you anything. So you really have nothing to gain from that. But like
Right.
a good example is I've been really trying to get more into the CrossFit scene here in Iowa, and they had the regional games 2 weeks ago.
Nice.
And I was on the phone with their media director, and they're hiring all these videographers to come in and shoot. And they're like, well, we really need a portfolio that is specifically to CrossFit because corporate, they only want people that have shot CrossFit. And I'm like,
Mm,
well, how did you get into it? And like, well, 7 years ago, I volunteered to shoot this one event and
right.
I've been hired the last 7 years. And I was like, okay. So they didn't say do it for free, but I figured out and connected the dots. I'm like, oh, if I just shoot this one and I wanted to do it, I was probably going to go as an attendee anyway, go to the event and shoot it for free, make those connections. Well, I got coronavirus like 3 days before, so I had to cancel, but I
Mm,
would have
but
done
you
it.
would
And that
have,
would have been
yeah.
the exact situation where you need to do it for free. Now, if they'd have reached out to me and said, "Hey, we can't afford a second shooter for this. Do you want to be a volunteer?" I probably would have said no unless I would
Mm,
talk more about it. But it's like if someone reaches out to me asking me to work for free, it's usually not a good deal.
yeah,
But if you can kind of offer it up, I think it's a good deal. So
I agree. I mean, I learned that the hard way. Unless it's a nonprofit where it's a given that they don't have money most of the time, did learn that if somebody's leading with wanting something for free, they even if they say they're going to take care of you, they actually don't on the curve of it. Like I think it's a mentality thing, you know. I think people have to value you, you know, and if they don't
mhm.
value you from the get go, they're never going to learn to value you. And on top of that, they don't even refer people that value. Even if they refer somebody, they're just gonna, hey, this dude did a free video for me. You should get a free video for yourself. And it's
Right.
like that's not. So you know, I see people in the Facebook groups, especially, really debating about this, and I noticed it's mostly like beginner, intermediate people that say never do work for free. But I'm more with you. I think for me, I can connect the dots that some of my biggest clients and best experiences as a professional and in life came from doing things for free, you know, and
Mhm.
that was once I learned to be more discerning, where I only do it for free if, like you said, I believe in the cause. If I really want to do it, like you said, if I would go to the event anyways, but now I have like a backstage pass to the event, that's
Mhm.
like a different thing, right?
Sure,
Or if it's
sure.
obviously good for your portfolio or somebody that you really want to connect with. But yeah, but you're right. If they're just asking like, hey, can you do a free video? I wouldn't agree with that. Um, so then I guess moving forward, like when did you get into, you already studied marketing. So I guess you just ended up looking for a marketing job, like as a 9 to 5, or how did that happen?
Yeah. So kind of how I got into my full-time gig, it's kind of interesting. I was looking at agencies. I knew once I saw that workflow where it's like people that are just really chill that come up with crazy marketing ideas. I always said like my ideal job is like being in the boardroom when they come up with that crazy idea that works that you see on like a Super Bowl commercial
Yeah.
or this ad campaign that
Yeah.
like I want to be the guy that comes up with the crazy cool idea, so when I started figuring out there were like work centers like that, I was like agencies where I want to go. So I interviewed at a bunch of them. And then there was this one that I work at now that they had a job posting up for maybe 2 hours.
Uh-huh.
And it was for some super ambiguous, like project manager type role for a client for a video production company. I was like, oh, cool. So I went to apply and it was gone. So I just called them
Mm.
and I kept calling them. Long story short, I had 7 interviews with these owners,
Wow.
and it was between like I just basically said, "Here's my skill set. What do you guys have a need for?" And a lot they were, they did a lot of production work, but it was more one and done projects. And they're like, "Well, we really want somebody that has agency experience, but you don't yet. But
Mm.
you're like a really good fit for what we want to do because we want to do like retainer clients. We want to run the ads for the clients. We want to do
Mm. Mhm.
other things." So then that's kind of how I got my in was that I was young, I was ambitious enough to learn all the skills, and then they kind of took a chance on me. So that's kind of how I got in there. But yeah, it was definitely in a roundabout way. Like I was on interview 7. I'm like, what else can I possibly tell you?
Yeah. First of all, what is the difference in 7 interviews? Do they just keep grilling you to get more detailed about stuff, or how does that work?
I think they were stalling because they were trying to find somebody with like 5
More
to 10
experience?
years experience. I think
And
that's
they
what was
did.
happening, but I was just so damn persistent. I was like, it was either this or I was doing a sales job that I did not want to do,
Yeah.
which is kind of interesting because a lot of people say, why don't you just go full time in your production business? But it's like, I really do thoroughly enjoy my full-time job.
Mm,
So if I hated what I did and I worked in a different industry doing something completely else that I do not like to do, it would push me towards this. But it's like, I like both of them. So that's why I do both, because I enjoy both. So
right. Yeah. I tell people that too. If you have a 9 to 5 you're happy with, videography is an amazing supplemental way to build income, right?
absolutely.
And there's plenty of people that keep their 9 to 5 and they just want to work on the weekends or determine, their lifestyle. And so with, but with so you do more marketing as a 360 service for your own clients, right? As well.
I do. Yep. I offer that as kind of an upsell as well. So
So
I
how
can,
does that help you close deals in terms of, because I noticed one thing I noticed for a lot of people I'm mentoring is they don't know anything on marketing and they have a real hard time closing deals. And for
sure.
me, I started closing more deals once I started studying Facebook ads and
Mhm.
funnels and email marketing. And I didn't even have to do the services. I just had to talk about it and how video fits within that framework. And then all of
Sure.
a sudden they would want to hire me for the video. Did you
Right.
experience something like that?
Absolutely. Yeah. The being able, and I would say that's another skill set. Like if you can learn how to run ads or do the distribution for the clients, you will close at least double, if not triple the amount of business, because that's what, again, it's the customer journey. Like client is here, they want to be here. Your video can get them halfway, but then they have to figure out how to use the video to get the result. Where if they can come to you and they
Mhm.
start at A and you're at Z, and you can script, shoot, edit, and actually deliver the video and monitor the ads and get them the results, holy cow, that's a result in a box. That's what we're talking about with the ROI, and that's what you can sell. And whenever I do ad upsells, I always just double the price of the project if it's for a
Mhm.
month or two, because it's like, hey, this is honestly, like, I could shoot the video for you, I can edit it, we can give it to you, but what are you going to use it for? And a lot of times I get crickets. They're like, well, we never really thought that far. And I'm like,
Mhm.
honestly, if you don't know, don't hire me, because it's not going to get you what you want. Like
Mhm.
if you want the results, we need to really talk about how this video fits in your marketing strategy. And again, it's like half the time I don't even run the ads, but just having that heart to heart conversation with the client and kind of playing hard to get, so to speak, as a sales tactic. But it really is just like, don't waste the money on hiring me if you don't have a plan for what you're going to use this video for. So I think that's a huge skill that people can learn, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, if you're running Google ads, funnels, like just learning how what you do affects that, because that really does influence the end customer. And you really need to understand how that works. So
I agree. I think that's an essential part of building your business nowadays. And so how do you determine, um, like if you double the project rate, then how do you determine how much they should be spending on the ads themselves, the ad spend?
sure. I always say for most clients, if they can't afford $10 a day, don't run ads unless you can do that, because you can't get any real results. Like you can run micro campaigns, but it's not going to get you anything, right?
Mhm.
So I'll talk about typical, and if they're the director of marketing, I can get a lot more information from them on,
Mhm.
hey, how many people are usually on your website in a month? How much do you run ads now? Like how many people are on your organic lists now? How many people are on your email list, so we can leverage that for lookalike audiences? Like I ask all these kind of pointed questions to get a better idea. And then I kind of run them through, here's the averages. If you're an average ad's going to get a 1% click-through rate. So if we do a quick analysis, like you would have to get 20,000 people to watch this ad to get that number that you want on your website to close it. And to
Mhm.
get 20,000 views on this, we're going to have to spend a couple $100 to get, that type of thing. So it's like kind of walking them through the entire process on how it works. I know a lot of people that run ads, they try and keep it secret. I was just on a call with an Amazon seller expert for a client that they're starting an Amazon store, and he wouldn't tell us anything about his process. And it
Hmm.
just gave me a really weird vibe that he wasn't very open about how he does what he
Mhm.
does.
Mhm.
He's like, just give me a couple, like tens of thousands of dollars, and I'll I'll make you rich. And I'm like, well, we're not going to hire you because like you have
Mhm,
no, it's like
mhm, yeah, that's a
you have to
no-no.
like educate me and show me that you actually know what the heck you're talking about,
Right.
like
Yeah.
help me understand how this works, so.
That's a fair point. Anytime I'm hiring somebody or a subcontractor or something, I gotta ask them questions, and I gotta know that when they answer that they have the experience and the thought process that's backing up what they're saying. Because
Right.
anybody that just says, "Give me the money and I'll show you the results," they're usually either inexperienced and hiding it, or they might be shady and they're hiding it.
Sure,
Like,
sure.
so
Yeah, and I
then,
think
yeah.
that's kind of where I see myself as different is I'm definitely a marketer first.
Hmm.
I'm a business-minded person that just happens to know how to work a camera and run Adobe
Hmm.
Premiere. So it's like that's the other thing where a lot of people, I'm a creator, I'm a video creator, and it's like, okay, well, how can you use that skill to produce an income for yourself, whether it's freelance work, working for a company, being an in-house guy, which people talk down on those folks, but that's a really good fit if you just want to shoot. You don't want to worry about the business stuff. You want a consistent paycheck. Go
Hmm.
be an in-house video producer for a company or for an agency, and you'll have a really great time. You'll enjoy it. But for me, like I said, I like the business stuff. I love the marketing side, so I'm definitely a video marketer at heart. It's using the video to get a marketing result. So
Awesome. Is it okay to share your website on this screen share?
sure, yeah.
Um, so do you, so that actually brings me to my next question is, do you market when you talk to a client, are you saying I'm a video marketing company or I'm a videographer, or how do you position yourself?
So first off, I don't talk in third person like there's multiple of me. Oh, that's a lot of people do that too. If you're like, I hate when people are like a solo videographer and like, we would love to work with you. And then they get on the phone. It's like literally like, I even say that too. I'm the owner operator. Like I own the business. I do the service. It's me, I hire out second shooters if I need it, but that's kind of how I go about it. But yeah, I
Sure.
always say, I help brands drive sales with video. That's kind of my thing that I like to tell people.
Okay.
Um, a lot of people say storytelling. That's always kind of a kitschy word. I tend to avoid that though, because it's really using video to drive sales, get results, do the things that they want to do. So
That's why I try and tell my students, you're not in the business of video, you're in the business of video marketing, you know?
mhm.
So,
Well,
but
that's what my
then,
clients want. It's like if I really want to attract fitness related businesses, like they love the idea of video, but it's like how do we get you a result? How do we get you where you want to be with the video? So
right. And then, but like if you had to write down on a, like, let's say a job application, would you say I'm a videographer or I'm a video marketer, or what would you?
yeah, I would say I'm a video marketer.
Got it.
Yep.
Cool. So, and I kind of want to talk about your course now because you said you do teach because I know there's a lot of people out there that want to learn about the distribution side, and it's a little bit daunting for them because
Yep.
it's just a whole nother world, right? And I think a lot of videographers, to be honest, are resistant to having to learn marketing, but it's like, get over it. If you want to be successful and you want to move up, you're just gonna
Right.
have to do it because there's no way to not, so what do you teach in this course basically?
Yeah. So when I started my YouTube channel 3 years ago, I knew this is kind of the route I wanted to go, was to build a community around it.
Hmm.
Obviously I'm not like full-time dude doing multiple millions of dollars a year. Like I'm just not that person. But the thing that I really succeed in well was marketing and sales. So
Hmm.
I built an online course. It's called Solo Video Pro.
Hmm.
It started out 3 years ago with 22 lessons. I shot in my basement for 6 hours straight, very just off the cuff. And now we have over 80 lessons. I've worked some
Nice.
deals with some bigger software companies. We have a pretty good community now, and it's just kind of a deep dive in the business marketing sales side of running a solo videography business. So um, also within that, you mentioned the ad side. I actually had an entire chapter about how to run Facebook ads for
Okay.
clients and for yourself,
Okay.
which I just split off as a mini course. So it's called Facebook Ads for Freelancers. So
Okay.
that's the mini course that is within that. So
Is
people
it's in the
can.
same, if you purchase this 199 you'll get the Facebook too?
Yep. So it's within there. It's an entire chapter on the Facebook ads, but people can just purchase the mini course within that. So it's just that
This
Facebook ads
part.
for freelancers mini course that people can get as well. Because I had a lot of people saying, "Hey man, like I'm a pretty intermediate videographer. Like I don't need more leads. I just need to know how to run ads." And I was like, "Oh, okay, I can split that off, no problem." So that was kind of the incentive to do that anyway, was to help people out with it. So, but no, it's been great. I used to run ads for it. Now I just do all organic through my Facebook group and my YouTube channel. And it's been a really cool community to see. Like we got students in it from the Netherlands to Brazil to
Mhm.
Mexico. Like it's just really cool to hear like what industries are doing well in different parts of the world, and then the challenges people face, depending on which stage they're in. So it's been a really cool community to build the last couple of
Great.
years.
And so with the like how you were talking about like figuring out the how many views they would need to be able to sell it, is that part of this course or is that more advanced, like something you'd have to mentor somebody to
Yeah, that's
understand?
more advanced. I do touch on like what the average click-through rates are, what the average costs are. Like I said earlier, average click-through rate on an average Facebook ad campaign is 1%. So
Hmm.
that's how you can kind of educate your clients. Like, okay, click-through rate on a Facebook ad campaign is 1%, but if you're doing Google search, it's like 0.25%, right? So it's like 4 times more engagement than a Google ad. You have to kind of educate them. It's like it's based on impressions. It's not about clicks, and it's that type of thing too. Because I have a lot of knowledge about marketing in general, whether it's email, Google, Facebook,
Hmm.
which is kind of a good thing to have in the back of my pocket. But I always forget that most people don't have that skill set. So
Yeah.
it's like I
Yeah.
have to like backtrack for a lot of people and help them understand it, because it is kind of, I mean, I've had my nose in everything with podcasts, live events. I've been to conferences and spoke about video marketing, but I'll meet with people that are like SEO experts and I'll learn about that. And
Hmm.
I'll learn about, Google, or I'll learn about like all the different stuff that goes with it. So,
So
um,
how long would you how much time, or let me put it this way, like what skills do you think they should learn first? Would you say Facebook, Instagram ads? Or like if they had to, because it's pretty daunting to learn everything, right?
Sure, sure.
So
Yeah, I would say like if you're a beginner to intermediate and you're like starting to get some work and you're trying to grow your business, I would say one, you need to learn the business skills, because like you said, you can always learn more about tech and stuff like that, and you can research and watch YouTube videos to learn about technical aspects, but if you don't know how to get business and speak business to your clients, it's really hard to sell, and it's really hard to get to that next level. And it's
mhm,
really hard to validate what your service does for a client, because you don't know what it is, because you don't understand that yet.
mhm,
So
mhm, mhm.
it's like selling ice to an Eskimo. It's like you just don't, like, if you don't understand they don't need any more ice, and you really think your ice is the best, but you realize they don't need it. It's like, well,
Mhm,
there's a back there. You don't understand their problem. So I would say this, and the social side of it, you really have to learn. I talk about that in my course. I actually have behind the scenes on like actual discovery calls I have with clients on like how to loosen them up, how to get budget out of people in
mhm,
the first
mhm.
5 minutes of a conversation, how to learn what their problems are, have them tell you exactly what they need, and then you can just sell them based on that solution. So it's a lot of the business stuff that I think people really need to do right out of the gate and learn that.
Mhm.
And it's something that I never learned in college. I never, it was all through my sales internships, learning about marketing, and then just trial and error. You get hung up on enough, or people walk out of meetings that you're like, oh, I probably shouldn't say that stuff anymore.
Yeah, I learned everything the painful way, to be honest, because I was just a
Mhm.
pure artist in the beginning, and I had to add the business skill. So then, what are some techniques you use? Because I have a couple things I like to use to get. I always try to get the budget out of the client in the
Sure.
discovery call. So what are some techniques you have that you would
Sure.
use?
So a lot of my inbound stuff is through my website. So it's if people don't fill out my questionnaire and they just reach out to me on a DM or something, I'll always put them through my funnel. One, it's to collect their information in my CRM so I can keep up with the leads, because I get people on Twitter, people on Facebook, like I can't keep up with it. So I send them
Mhm,
all to my website funnel, and then it just puts them in the one and organizes it. So I send them in, people will fill out my contact information, and they'll tell me more about their project. Now, the one that I do like, especially for weddings, because I get a lot of inbound from weddings, because my wife's a hairstylist and she
mm,
does the hair for a lot of the brides, so they'll get
mm,
referred to me. So
mhm,
if you go to Portfolio and then you go to weddings, you'll see my form there. And this is more kind of my intake form that I like to do with a lot of my business clients too, but just an example for the weddings.
mm, mhm,
I'll get their name. I need to know the date, the location, and then I get their taste for price. So if it's under a grand, 1 to 3,000, 3 to 5, or over 5,000, I can kind of gauge their interest on price, and
mhm,
then they can reach out to me from that, and then I can kind of go from there. But I would say it's more doing the intake is really important, and then I also have a questionnaire for my business clients when they do reach out, to ask them more about what will this video do for you? What's your marketing budget annually? Like
Mhm.
what have been your typical revenue spikes on different months? Like, is this a busy month for you? Is this a slow month? How can we change that? It's just a lot of questions about their business.
Mhm.
And a lot of them are like, wow, this is really thorough.
Yep.
I always say, again, it's like, I don't want to waste your time or mine. If I can't help your business, I'll refer you to somebody else. Like, I want to help your business. And if you don't want to make your business better, you just want a cool video, I'm probably not the guy for it, because that'll drive me crazy. Is like, I want to actually get your results so you feel good about what you're spending your money on. So
Yeah, I agree with all of that. I like how you have the 5,000 first too, so that they kind of price
yep.
anchor them. They're like, oh
Yep.
well, man, I can do 3,000.
Right. Well, yeah, and then they go down like the third option. They're like, "Oh, 1,000's pretty reasonable," or
Yeah.
3 grand's pretty reasonable, or whatever. Like, it's just the price anchoring. And
And
again,
those
that's
are
just a
classic
tactic.
sales techniques that people don't know when they're starting out. And one thing I like to do whenever I sit with the client is, I'll do the discovery. First, I talk more about their, overall business goals and, things like that. And then I'll just straight up ask them. I say, I have a couple different ways I'll ask. I'll just straight up ask them, like, do you have a budget? Like, do you know what your budget is for this? And try and get them to give me a number. Or I'll say, in an ideal world, like, how much would you want to spend on this project? Or
Mhm.
do you have a range that you were hoping to spend? Just
Right.
because, like, that right there, it will tell you if they are potentially a client for you or not. Because if you have this call and then you don't find out, then, like, you could end up having a bunch of calls and wasting time. But if they're like, oh, I have $500 to spend on this, $50,000 idea, it's like, okay, well,
Mhm.
let me refer you to somebody else.
Absolutely.
you know
Yeah, and I think the way I reverse engineer that, for in my course lessons, I always talk about value-based pricing, which a lot of
yeah,
people get very mad at me when I talk about that, because it's just so against what a lot of creatives want to do. They
yeah,
want to do the hourly, or they want to do the day rate, and it's like, those are fine, but it's like, I have a lot of issues with those. One, with hourly, it's like, you might as well just get a 9 to 5 job that'll pay you whatever hourly rate that you think is
yeah,
valid for that. And there's only so much time in a day, where it's like, if I do that project in half the time, I should get paid more money for that, not less, like, that's just silly. And then with day
so
rates, like within the industry, it's a little different, but I always try and just sell on value. It's like, what is this project, when it's finished in your hands? What will this get you? And a lot of the times I'll reverse engineer the sales of it, where it's like, okay, this would be a success. Like for my flow body video, I think it was on my website under case studies.
mhm,
They said their sales goal was 12 grand. And they said, we want to hit 12 grand in the first month when we launch on Kickstarter. And I said, I can get you probably over 40 grand in sales, because I know this industry very well. I know Kickstarter. I know how to structure your video that's going to sell. And I knew their background, because I asked them questions about their email list and all this other stuff. And they said, hey, if we get over 40 grand, we'll double your payment. We'll
mm,
start with what we can afford, but if we hit that sales goal, we'll pay you extra. And I was like, deal, because that's I'm betting on myself. I know it will do it. So that's what we did. We launched the video on Kickstarter. They hit their sales goal in the first hour of like 12 grand. They hit that in the first hour. And then in that month, they made over 47,000 in sales. So I proved myself that I could do it, because I knew I could. I betted on myself. So we invested in talent. We hired out models for it. We got a location. We did all this different stuff, knowing full well that it would sell that, because I knew the conversion rates on their email. I knew the hole there was in Kickstarter for this niche, and I knew I could actually sell it and get some money back from it. So
great. That's an amazing case study. So in this situation, um, and by the way, thanks for sharing all this. I think people are gonna love this. Is already a really great episode.
sure.
You know, in this situation, are you also have talking to them about their, like, distribution strategy, or doing any work on that, or is it just really more about the campaign video and how that works within their existing, like, did they have a marketing person or somebody running the ads? Like, how did that work?
Yeah. So Flowbody is like a yoga mat with some extra accessories for folks that are listening to the podcast. It's basically it's a yoga mat that has elastic bands on the side that you can pull to do like lat raises or back rows or whatever. So it's kind of like a at-home workout
Mhm,
mat for stay-at-home moms. That's kind of like their target market.
mhm,
It's owned by husband and wife. That's all they have. It's just those two. The husband was pretty good at product photography, but they'd
mhm,
done some just kind of like offhanded cell phone videos before. And they saw a huge spike in interest when they started doing videos. So they knew, okay, video's the move, but we're not good enough to do it. So how do we get there and figure that out? So for them, I just knew, like, I didn't really talk about, I knew that my video would plug into their marketing strategy because all they needed was the video to get that turnkey solution. Cause they already had the email list. They had the Kickstarter listing. They had pre-launched on Kickstarter. So they'd known what they were going to try and do. And it was just a matter of putting the right video in and the right scripting that could turnkey and get the solution they needed. So
Amazing.
for that long answer, I just shot the video.
No, that's good. I love going deep on this stuff. So then I guess that leads me to, I noticed also on Facebook, some people flip out about value-based pricing. And I think there's something about how it's expressed. And so, for instance, if you're talking to me and I'm a client, let's say I'm going to do a product launch, and you, through the discovery, you find out that, I'm going to make $100,000 in sales if I sell everything I have. Right.
Yep.
And in your head, okay, you have a minimum you would take. And then how are you going to verbalize that to me to kind of have more incentive for you?
So the way I would say it's $100,000. It's the sales target. That's very achievable. You're a medium-sized company. You've done sales numbers like that before, and it's actually like doable. I would say, hey, Mr. Customer, I really appreciate you being honest with me and telling me about how this will affect your sales numbers, because that's going to help me make sure that the price is reflective of that. So based on our target, you're wanting to hit $100,000 in profit, let's say, or revenue, that with a 80% profit margin, like that's going to be a lot of profit for you guys.
Yep.
Wouldn't it make sense to invest, say, 15% of that amount to make sure you can get those results?
Mm-hmm.
Like if I said if you spent 15,000 and you can make 100,000, would you do it? They'd probably say, yeah. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, that's good, because my price isn't even 15,000. I'm not even going to charge you that. For only $10,000, we can do everything we talked about. We can do it for $10,000. But if you want me to run the ads for you, I can tack that on for another $5,000. So we're still within that 15% investment. It's a pretty low risk, high reward situation for you. Here's all my past track record of stuff I've done this in the past. We can get you the results you want. And at the very least, the collateral damage is that it's going to get a lot of eyeballs on your brand. It's going to get a lot of attention. It's going to get a lot of impressions, but that's just the collateral. What we really want to do is we want to close those sales. We want to get you your result that you want. And we can do that with this plan.
Great. I love your sales. So then what if I push back and I say, well, why don't you just give me a number that is going to cost you to produce it?
Sure. Well, I mean, if we learn more about the project scope, I mean, it's more about the deliverable for you. I mean, I can give you an hourly rate and all this other stuff, but wouldn't you want it faster? Would that be more convenient for you if you got the video in, say, 2 weeks instead of 2 months?
That sounds really good, Ryan.
Right, so yeah, we can you're gonna be paying for high quality production, but it's a strategic production, and that's the thing that differentiates me from a lot of the people you're probably going to talk to. You can find somebody that'll do this for $1,000 or $1,000 or $500 or something, but they don't understand your business. They don't understand how this marketing piece will get you a result. They're not doing the deep dive that I'm doing with you here. And again, you could walk away right now and use what we talked about in this meeting to benefit your business, even if you don't hire me. And that's what I just want you to get the results you want, because I feel invested in your business. I feel like this is going to do really well, and I really want to be on board to help get this where it needs to go. So I'd be really fired up to work with you.
Amazing. I am officially endorsing everybody to check out Ryan's course. I think it's clear that you definitely know your sales and your marketing, how to present yourself. Also, I think being calm while you're expressing that is a very important part. I think a lot of beginners, like, they even just freak out at like the idea of pitching a number, and they just kind of like.
Well, and there was one, I did one for, I live in Ag Central here in Iowa. It's a lot of cornfields. And we had an international ag producer reach out to me from Norway, that they're a national, and I had to sign an NDA, so I can't even tell you who it was, but it was between me and 2 other partners, and they were going to hire an agency. So it was like, they reached out to me specifically as a solo operator, and it was me versus 2 other big boys in town that are like rivals of the company that I work for full time.
Mm-hmm.
And I told them, hey, and I even brought it up right away. I said, hey, what did those other 2 people bid this project at? I'm just curious. It was a week's worth of shooting with a bunch of farmers, and it was just a lot. It was a very intensive project. And like, oh, it'll be anywhere. They bid it at 20, or no, they said, what did I ask them? I said, what have you guys allocated for this project? And they said, well, we can't spend more than 20 grand US on this. And I said,
Mm-hmm.
okay, well, what
Mm-hmm.
did the other people bid this at? Because I have a feeling that they're going to be a little overpriced. And she's like, yeah, they were. They actually came in at like 28 and 29,000. And I was like, okay. So, and then I kind of like either or them'd basically. I basically said, so you can pay 10 grand more than you're budgeted for and piss your boss off and go with a huge crew with all this stuff that they don't even understand your business. Like I was on a call with her for like 2 hours for this project. And I was like, I really feel like I know a lot about your business. Like I've grown up in farm country. Like a lot of my buddies growing up are farmers. Like I understand the struggle that this is. And I think I can really capture it better than the large guys can. So that's why I'm going to come in a little bit underpriced because I am just a solo operator, but I'm going to give it to you in half the time. It's going to be highly produced, and I'll make sure that the script is approved by your legal teams and everything before we get started so we don't have to reshoot anything. How's that sound? So it's a lot of salesy stuff like that. And it's like, I'm not trying to be salesy. I'm just trying to make the video make sense in the client's mind.
Mm-hmm.
And when you can do that and you can have an honest conversation with somebody, it's not selling it. You're just presenting your information. You're positioning yourself the way that you're different or unique, and you're laying their options out and you're letting them decide. It's really, and I lost that project, the one that I was just talking about, the ag producer. I lost the project, but I positioned myself in a way that was unique and it was different. And that's really, I think I really had a good fighting chance just by doing that. So.
Yeah, that's great. And do you so you're solo ops, that means everything on your portfolio, you're shooting, you're editing, you're color grading, all that stuff.
Yep.
But you also have experience working obviously through your 9 to 5 on bigger productions.
Yes. Yep.
So how would you describe the difference? Because I know a lot of people, they want to make the leap. That's kind of their dream, to get building a production company that big, or so what do you think is the difference, and what skills are needed to even kind of have that journey become a reality?
Sure. Yeah, definitely at the next level with my full-time gig, it's a lot of specialization. So people will hire a firm based solely on their past work. You know, if you've shot for Nike, Adidas might hire you because, oh, well, they shot for Nike. It's a lot of that type of stuff where we'll shoot for a big ag company here in Iowa. And it's like, oh, they do a lot of ag work. Like we want a good person that understands ag. So like, let's hire them to do it, that type of thing. But a lot of it's just specialization. So at the next level, you're not going to do every piece of the production. You're going to do a very tiny piece of it. You're going to be a grip. You're going to be a gaffer. You're going to be a PA. You're going to be a producer. You know, a lot of in my full-time job, I've had a lot of experience with our smaller clients that are on retainer. They can't afford to hire out our red for $1,000 a day and our DP for $1,200 a day, that type of stuff.
Yeah.
So I'll come in and I'll like associate produce it, or I'll script it, or I'll run boom mic. Like I'll do any piece of it just to learn and understand more about the industry and learn and understand about this process, so I can become kind of multifaceted, so I can do everything myself too. So it's a lot of that type of stuff. But I would say, to answer your question, the biggest difference is really you're helping big companies with big problems solve those problems, which warrants a much higher price tag. And there's just a lot more complexity that goes with it. So that's really what it is like, the bigger the problem, the more money you can charge. So if you find companies or clients that have a huge issue that video can solve, you can charge top dollar and they'll be completely fine with it because the results will warrant that result. So.
And have you noticed, because for me, you know, I kind of, you know, I started off as a wedding videographer, and I really scraped my way for a long time, and eventually got into this commercial world. And then when I started Videography Academy, I kind of started going backwards in a certain sense of taking smaller jobs, just because I realized I was kind of out of touch with what it takes, you know? And so I was like, okay, let me like re-engineer like what I learned, you know? But I noticed personally that, and I want to get your opinion, which is, I noticed that the sales process on a $100,000, $1 million job in the commercial world is, and working with agencies in particular, very different than working with it. And for me, I noticed what it is the people I know who land those deals, it's usually more relationships and building connections and going out to events and drinking and all this stuff that I think most solopreneurs are not really equipped to do. What do you think?
Yeah, it's definitely who you know, not what you know at that point. I think it's really important, like we mentioned early on, niching down, probably the worst example of it, because I shoot a lot of stuff. I shoot weddings, I shoot corporate. Like I'm at that stage where I just like shooting anything, if not anything, but if it's a business that's not specifically, I'm not going to decline it because it doesn't fit exactly what I love to
Of
shoot, you know?
course. Yeah.
And especially like I mentioned earlier, I'm trying to pay off all this debt. So any
Sure.
job I can get, if it's
Right.
reasonable, I usually
Right.
do it. But
Right.
especially with the difference, like you mentioned, is really that relationship. But it's also being in those networks and being well connected. So if you shoot a lot of weddings, going to the wedding expos and being really well connected, being on the vendor list for the venues and talking, like working really well with the photographer so they refer you more work, and just any industry you're in, um, help as much as you possibly can and make it a really good experience. So then people want that for your clients. They feel good recommending it, and it works out really well for them. Because I've recommended vendors before that I know them, but I've never seen their work. I just know, oh, that person does whatever, and I'll recommend them. And then my friend comes back like, hey, Ryan, that was the worst experience ever. Like they sucked. They didn't, and it like, it comes back on me, right? They
Right.
think less of me because I'm
Of course.
terrible at referring people. And I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
crap, I should actually vet these people out. I mean, I just know somebody that's like a real estate agent or a life insurance agent. I'm like, well, I know they do that. So if you need that, go to them. And then it's like not a good experience. I'm like, I probably should do some research on people. But again, it's like, that's what most people do, is like, if you're in front of them enough, if you're in their networking groups, if you're seen on social media a lot, and that's a lot of my inbound stuff too, is every time I finish a video, I share it on social media, tag the client, talk about the project, what the challenges were. One of them I shot for a college that was 2 days. I shot for 22 hours over 2 days. We launched the project and it was this huge success. Like I shared all the behind the scenes about it, which got me like 3 or 4 more gigs because people were sharing the video.
Yep.
And they see the caption and they read like, holy crap, he was super invested in this project and it turned out the perfect way. You know, like that's what you have to do. You have to tell your own story. You have to be in the right networking groups to tell that story. And then when the time is right, always have a way they can contact you and have kind of a system in place that you can intake them and kind of get them quoted and figured out. So
no, that's fantastic. That's definitely stuff that I endorse. When you say sharing it in networking groups, you mean like in Facebook groups with prospective clients?
Yep. Social media groups would be great. If you're in an actual physical networking group, that's important too. I always tell people too, if you connect with people, these little micro interactions are how you're going to get a lot of work. So if I'm at a gym shoot, say for, what's a good example? Like if I'm at a CrossFit event, right? And there's a ton of CrossFit box owners there. Every time I introduce myself, I will say, because I'm at that event and I know those people, I'll say, hey, I'm Ryan. I'm a fitness videographer.
Right.
It's like you have to brand every time you have an interaction with somebody. And if you can say it in a cool way, like, hey, I'm a fitness videographer. I help fitness owners get more sales with social media through video or something like that. You can have like a sentence that you say. And again, this is going more deep on like sales psychology, but it's like, once they look at you, and if you have an enticing introduction that's not just, hey, I'm Ryan, I'm an auditor 3, just glaze over, like, okay, let me ask about their family, because obviously that dude hates what he does for a living.
Right.
And I know it sounds stupid, but a lot of people, when you ask them, they just get irritated because, well, I tell people this all the time, what I do. But that's the thing, is like, if you are genuinely excited about what you do, give that to somebody through how you introduce yourself. It's like, hey, I'm Ryan, I'm a video marketer, and I help fitness brands get more reach online.
Yep.
And just you smile a little bit because you love doing that, right? Yeah. Like if you're a videographer, like I help brides remember their wedding day for the next 20 years. Like I love that. Just, I love it. And like, whatever, fill in the blank, right? I help businesses get millions of dollars, or I help nonprofits reach their donors, whatever it is. Get that mission statement to somebody this first second you meet them. So then if you happen to hit the golden goose and it's like, hey, I'm a CrossFit box owner and I've actually been really wanting to do some video. We should talk later. Okay. Give them your card. And then you have that conversation. So that's more the actual networking piece of it. But it's a lot of just like, when you introduce yourself to somebody new, don't be shy about telling them what you do and that you're passionate about it. Cause you should be. If you're a video producer, you should be excited to tell people what you do.
I agree. And I definitely learned that is just tailor your message to your audience. So if I'm at a convention where it's startup people, I'll say that I provide solutions for startup companies. You know, if I'm at a fitness thing, I'll say it's for fitness, you know. Obviously there's a limit, like if you've never done it and you can't really say that's your thing, but if you have at least something in your portfolio. So also I noticed you have weddings too. Like what percentage is wedding versus like business or corporate work?
Sure. So I'm kind of, like I said, I'm kind of cursed because I did a styled shoot 3 or 4, no, like probably 5 years ago for a photographer, a friend of mine. And I had 7 real weddings booked from that styled shoot.
Uh-huh.
It's one of those things that I don't really market a whole lot. They
Yeah.
just come from my Facebook group. It's the
Yeah.
most inquired thing that I have that comes through. It's a lot of people asking all the time. And like I said, my wife's in the industry. So we share referrals. If we both work the same wedding, we'll give them a discount because we're both there at the same time and
Mm-hmm.
it's just more convenient. So I would say most years I probably do anywhere between, I don't know, 10 to 15 weddings. Under the point now where I just keep bumping my price up more and more, and I get a ton of people that say no, but I also have a lot of people that come in that ask about it. So it just kind of works out that way. But the problem is that I just got married recently, and I know I hired a guy who's nationally acclaimed. His name is Brandon Rice. He's out of Nashville, Tennessee. He's one of the best wedding videographers in the country. If he's listening to this, Brandon, what's up, dude? But yeah, so it's Brandon Rice Films.
Let's give him a little shout out on this.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
But dude, I was a freaking blubbery mess at my wedding, and it was the most surreal thing though. Like, I've shot probably 50 to 100 weddings, you know.
Yeah.
And just when you can connect with people on the emotional level and you get it, like you just get so much business through referrals from that, because people are like,
yeah,
he was so easy to work with, like that he worked well with the photographer, like again, it's like the working with the vendors is the big thing. And then just like over delivering. So that teaser you were just watching on my site, I did that overnight. So I delivered that teaser to them in less than 12 hours from the wedding.
Wow.
And I already had it like 5 or 6 people reach out about it because they were at the wedding. They watched me work all day.
Yep.
They saw the teaser the next day when everyone's congratulating them on Facebook. And then that just gets you all the extra intake that you can get. So it's like, I have a love-hate relationship with weddings. Again, my focus right now is getting out of debt. So I take a lot of them, but I think eventually I'll start getting rid of them or not taking as many on every year. But it's just such a different approach, you know? So
I totally understand that, dude. I went through the same thing, and I did the exact same thing where I just kept raising my price because eventually it turns into a thing like, it's like artists do that in the art world. Like if they have a piece they really don't want to get rid of, they'll overprice it. So like they basically want people to say no. And so it's kind of the same thing in reverse. Like I'm going to overprice this so you say no. But if you pay me, I guess it's going to be worth my while. And
well, that's why I try to stand out a little different. I shoot solo, which I mean, I could probably have somebody come with me and really drastically increase the production value if I really wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's like, it's less profit and I'm not trying to grow the wedding niche specifically. Yeah. Now, again, I appreciate the hell out of it because shooting weddings has paid for my own wedding in cash. I don't have to take any credit out or anything, which is great. So it's like, that's really good. But a lot of it's just the highlight films. People want just a videographer for the ceremony, and I'll just turn those people away because I'm like, that's not what I do. It's just,
plus you're already there for the day, and it's
like I'm not gonna come for 3 hours or an hour and be done. Like I want to make this, like I want to see the whole day. I want to really feel what your relationship is and what it's about. And I'm also a pretty good judgment of character now because I can tell after that day if they're gonna last or not.
You know what? I discovered that too. You do enough of those weddings and you wait a couple of years, you really start to see the spread. And then I went to one wedding and no joke, both sides of the family, the entire families hated each other. They weren't even speaking to each other in the reception. I was like, that's so messed up because they're just giving their kids the worst chance at like their own marriage, and it was a mess.
I've talked to a lot of people too that are in weddings because I mean, I know my stuff's not the best production value out there, and I'll be the first to admit that. But the thing about it is like the average person doesn't notice or doesn't really, like, that's not their main concern. It's the emotion. It's capturing the emotion.
Yes, true.
If something's slightly out of focus or the color is off, like I used to spend 10 hours on every video I did for color grading. And then I did one wedding, or actually one corporate video where I didn't really grade it at all. I just did a basic correction that took 10 minutes and I was done. And they're like, yeah, it looks great. I love the color. That was the first comment they said. And I was like, I used to take so much time to understand color grading, but I feel stupid now. It's like, you just, again, it's tailor your service to the audience. If people want a certain look, tailor that look. If they don't, then don't. It's just trying to do that. So yeah, weddings, to be brief, weddings, I have a love-hate relationship. I really over-deliver on them, which I probably shouldn't if I don't want to have more of them, but it's work, and I appreciate all the people and get to know them a little bit more. So
I agree, and also it's a work ethic thing where if you're going to do it regardless, and I noticed, that's something I learned the hard way myself is, and from other people I've talked to is like, if you're there, you've already made the decision. So that means you need to just do the best job, be super positive. Because the other thing is, going back to what you said, is people are going to see your work ethic. So I got a lot of referrals from people just seeing how hard I worked at the wedding. I'm busting my butt off, and then they want to hire me. And then on top of that, the actual reaction of your client, the couple, they will see the video as a better quality if they remember that you were so pleasant to work with and like you were really there and you really cared about their event. Like that actually affects the quality in their eyes of the video because it has even more of an emotional connection. It's very subtle, but I think it's all points to like, if you're doing it, just do a great job, and
well, and like we talked about with businesses, it's the same thing. It's care about what your clients care about. If your couple wants the emotions caught of the day, you better get all the emotions you can. Squeeze that sucker in there. If your client wants to do nothing but drive $100,000 in sales, get them the sales. Like care about their marketing process, care about their strategy because they care about it.
Yeah.
And again, it's like just if I go to a wedding and I do a terrible job because I'm being sassy because it's not the exact thing I want to shoot at the time, I've got 200 to 500 people that are watching me be a little priss about it and cry. And there's been times I've been hired for businesses because I'll say, oh, what's your dad do? Oh, he runs a cattle farm out west. Like actually he would really benefit for some video, right?
Yeah.
Or, oh, what's your husband do? Like, oh, he owns his own manufacturing company. He actually would really benefit from a video. And again, it's like, you never know who's watching. And if you're out in public, not performing the way you should because you're being selfish or, sensitive or letting your emotions cloud
about it. Yeah,
exactly. And that's the thing that always comes back is like, it's your reputation on the line. And when you're an owner operator and you're a solo videographer, you are everything. You are the marketer, you're the shooter, you're the editor, but you're also, you're the customer service. You're taking care of all that stuff. And if you have a terrible experience, it's just going to hurt you. It's like any business. You have to really make sure your reputation is very clean. So
absolutely. Your reputation is your currency. And that's why I try to tell people is you have to remember you're in a service industry, whether you like it or not, you're there to serve people and make sure that they're happy with you. And I agree. So I guess moving on to the last part, which is talking about your YouTube channel. I think it's kind of interesting. You're like a triple threat. You get marketing, video, YouTube. I think when I discovered you, it's like one of the things I noticed about you was that I like the quality of your YouTube videos and you seem to put effort into it. And I have a lot of respect for anybody that does that because for me, I know I need to get my YouTube channel up, but I just haven't because I'm the type that, if I'm not going to put all the effort into being really good quality and being happy with it, I kind of just don't want to start it, a lot of times.
Sure.
So
there were many times that I almost quit. Just because again, it's like, I literally work like, you can ask my wife, dude, it's like 7 a.m. till probably like 10 p.m. It's just like, if I'm in my office, I'm editing videos for clients, I'm working on full-time stuff, I'm shooting YouTube videos, I'm putting out videos for my course, but it's like, the impact that I've had from growing my personal brand on YouTube has been just nuts. Like I got asked to come and speak at a conference in Florida. They flew me down, paid me for it to come make a video of their conference, but also speak to college students about how to like get your personal brand out there. It's just like, I've been hired for other projects. I've been like paid to be a consultant for a business or two about social media, all from my YouTube channel. I only have 7,000 subscribers. This isn't like earth shattering. Like this happens all the time because I have over 40,000 people a month that watch my videos, that find me through search, that go to my website, that buy my course, that hire me for, it's just like, if you don't have a personal brand right now in 2020 with where the internet is, it's like, you're just doing yourself such a disservice. And the fact that you have a skill set, if you're listening to this right now, you have a skill set that you can create marketing material for yourself. You just owe it to yourself to do it. Like, it's just silly that you're not using that skill for your own benefit, So
I agree. And that's actually, you're inspiring me now to finally take action on my own brand. Cause I think I've always resisted it. And, And you know, at the same time, I do think, you know, you have to learn the sales skills so that even if you didn't have a personal brand, but everybody I've talked to who's done production and a YouTube channel has only gotten benefits out of it. But what are the realities people need to know before they jump in terms of what to expect if they're going to try and do both at the same time, building a business and a YouTube channel?
Sure. I would just say put processes in place. Like I have an entire video about it. I have a 16-step business process for my freelance videos. So there's the inquiry, there's the pre-production scripting, there's the shooting, there's the editing. But then also when I deliver the final video, I have a post-production process where it's like, okay, I need to put it out on Twitter. I need to put it on Vimeo. I need to put it on my website. I need to email it out to all of my past clients and say, hey, check out this awesome video that I did for this client. And it's like those extra steps always get me more work. And people always overlook it because they think the video is done once they get paid. And it's like, no, we're halfway. You have to flip the switch from being a videographer to switching it on to being a business owner. And like, how can I use this piece that I made that I was paid for as a marketing piece for my business? And how do I get to that next level? So that's really big. The thing with my YouTube channel as well is that I think I'm very transparent about the business side, which a lot of people aren't. But I also share my goals. Like you're watching my year-end video. I have 3 goals for this year. It was to get 50 new students in the Solo Video Pro course, to go to 10,000 subscribers on YouTube, and to double my revenue for my business. Now, I'm looking at my goals on my wall over here. I'm 10 people away from my members goal for the course.
Nice.
I'm at 7,000 subs, so I've got 3,000 to go, and I'm averaging about 800 a month. So if I get another video that goes viral, I can probably do it. But my revenue is very low compared to what I was trying to hit for my sales goal because of COVID. So it's like, I'll be honest, when I go out into the world for my 2020 review video, like I'll put everything out there because I just want to be honest with people and I want to inspire them, because it's like I'm very non-traditional. Like I don't just have my video business and that's it. Like I'm doing so much other stuff, but I love sampling and testing and sharing with people, because most people just safeguard this information because they think they're special or they're too good. And it's like, there will be people that connect with me and understand about their life, and they'll learn things and they can apply it to their business. And that's what I want. I just want to create a community of people that can get better. And that's really what it is. So,
yeah, I agree. And for me, you know, I've always gotten the feedback that they just like my honesty and my upfrontness about everything, you know, and I noticed, you know, the more transparent you are about your journey, the more people actually invest in you, because, you know, it is a human thing to want people to succeed. And, you know, I think people can tell when you're trying to fake it. I think that's why a lot of people don't want to share their real numbers or something, because they're actually just constantly pretending that they're better than they really are or something like that. And
well, and I had this happen with me because and I've told you this many times, I'm not a full-time filmmaker or freelancer or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
I had a lot of people in my comments saying like, well, you're not even doing this full time. Why should I believe you? And I'm like, dude, you're the type of person, even if I showed you my bank statements, you wouldn't take any of the tips that I said in this video, because that's not the type of person I'm trying to help, is the people that are actually interested.
Yeah.
And they actually want to learn. Because even if I told you, hey, I made X amount of dollars this year, what does that do to help you besides make you jealous, resentful, and close your ears? Because you're like, well, once people talk about money, I want to close my ears. Like I was telling my wife and I, we hired a financial coach, and it's changed our entire life because of this debt payoff and our goals as a couple and with my business. Like it makes me want to work until 10 o'clock at night every night, because I know where this is going. Like the amount of money I've made from my dinky little channel and what that's done for my life, it's crazy. I'm like, what happens if I hit 10,000 or 20,000 or 100,000 subscribers? Like what happens then? You know, like that's always the constant thing. It's like, you can always evolve and you can always get to that next level. So
I agree. And I think there's a lot of people out there that their brains are conditioned to be negative and they're not even aware of it. And so they see somebody and they either want to discredit them immediately or hate on them or find a reason to hate on them. And it's really what I noticed in my life is any negativity that you give to somebody that is unwarranted is really just a reflection of your own self. It's a reflection of your own weaknesses or how you see yourself, or, you know, things you don't like about yourself, and you're just looking for it in other people. And that, when I realized that, it really helped me kind of not become one of those people that,
Yep.
when I look at somebody online, I really just try to look and see what they say and what they do. And if there's value in it, and if there's value in it, you take the value, and that's really the key here.
Right. Well,
Um,
in my case too, it's a lot of people don't like hearing how much I work. They
mm,
think something's wrong with me because they don't do that and they want to feel better
right.
about themselves. So they try and tell me, your YouTube channel is never going to grow. Why are you starting an online course? You don't know shit about that. Like, people just will find anything. And honestly, it just gives me more fuel because I'm such a positive person about
Yeah.
that. But it's,
Yeah.
it's because I'm very clear in where I want to go with it. And I know where I'm at, and I'm actually in love with the process. Like,
Mm,
it's just because I just know when it happens, when I pop off, and when money's not an issue anymore, and when all these things happen.
yep.
It's just, I was enjoying this from when I was nothing, when I had no students, when I had no
Mm,
subscribers, when I had no money.
yep.
And I can really fully enjoy that when I actually hit successful milestones in my business, and where I think I can go with myself. So
Yeah.
positivity is huge. I just
Yep.
keep your circle small. That's my biggest advice for
Mhm,
people. If you have a lot of negative energy,
mhm,
and I get that from my family as well, from my
mhm.
in-laws and stuff. It's just, you love them, but you just got to limit the amount of time that you talk to them about stuff that will just make you deter from where you're going in life. So you just got to
Right.
stay focused and keep going. So
I agree. 100% agree. So I guess lastly, like, you seem like me, like a bit of a workaholic. Um, how do you balance, I mean, or how do you communicate with your wife, and how do you deal with that in terms of your personal life versus career?
sure. So that's a good question. A lot of people ask me, if you're working so much, like, how has she not left you by now? But the truth of it is like, we've been together so long that she's seen me
Bro.
evolve into this, and she
Yeah.
knows, like,
Hmm.
she knows this isn't a forever thing. Like, eventually
Mm,
one of these three things that I'm doing will explode. And it's just a matter of which one I want to put all my time and attention into. And then that's
mhm,
going to be what it is. So that'll change things. But she
mm,
also knows, because I'm working so hard, that we together wanted to live in the town we live in, which we just bought a house here and we've done that.
mhm,
We want to start a family. I want to be financially independent of that. I don't want to be fearful of money. And she knows that we are both on very short timelines before we start having kids, that we can
mm.
do this and hit these things and achieve these things. And I
Right.
always tell her, it's like, and I allocate my time where it's like, okay, she gets off work at 10. We'll have like our together time for like an hour or two, and then that's the end of it. Or I'll go back to working for another 2 or 3 hours and then come to bed later at like 3 a.m. or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
recommend that every single day, but
Nah.
again, it's like, I just tell her, here's my workload for today. I've got these edits I have to do. I need to shoot this YouTube video. I need to get this
Yep.
out.
Yep.
Here's what I have to do. What's your schedule like? How can we coordinate and do it that way? But then also just having like days to reset. And then just, I always say, take care of your body. That's the big thing that a lot of
Mm,
videographers don't. You're sitting at a table or a chair all the
mhm,
time.
mhm,
I'm, like I said, I'm a big fitness guy. So I'm always lifting weights at least 6 days a week, getting outside in the morning, get fresh air in your lungs, get a little exercise, a little movement. Even if you're not into working out, just get outside
mhm.
and breathe the fresh air. Like, it's super important for your creativity and for your mindset, so you stay focused. So I would say, be transparent with your family and your loved ones. Tell them why you're working so hard, not because you don't want to be with them, but because you want to create a life that's going to be amazing and something that most people can't achieve if you don't do these things and sacrifice this time with them. It's not because you don't love them. It's because you love them that much more that you want to do those things.
Yeah, I agree. And I think what you said about communicating is really key, and updating about your schedule. And for me, what I learned is, if I am making time with her, I really block that time and I'm present. So that
Yep.
way, because
Super
I,
key.
I did have a period where I would constantly let my clients invade our space and just kind of like, oh, I gotta respond to this, I gotta answer this, and there's a limit to that. So now I try to, or even if we have a day, like the other day, we had a day planned, and then, one of my, like, an important call rescheduled to the middle of that day. So I told her ahead of time, like, hey, I do have, like, a call I got to take, like, at 3 o'clock or whatever. And so that you want to do, instead of the call starts at 3 and it's like, oh, I got to pick this up, and then you just like
Sure.
disconnect. So that's cool. So I think, what are your goals for 2021 then?
Yeah, I think depending on where I land, I'd like to get to 50,000 subscribers by the end of next year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm exponentially growing it, and I figured out the formula for YouTube on how to get videos ranked and how to research keywords and those things. So that's big.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to bring on another probably 200 students into my course. I'd like to also double the price of it in the next year. Now that I've started to get testimonials and I've added so much more material, that I'd like to increase the price. So
Mm-hmm.
that's a big goal. I'd like to hit my original sales goal for this year, next year, when I actually have a full year to do it, instead of having COVID kind of destroy the plans.
Mm-hmm.
But no, my big goal for 2021 is to get out of debt. I was $116,000 in debt December of 2019. And so far, Paige and I have paid off over $60,000 of that debt in 9 months. So we've been aggressively attacking it. And that's the goal for summer of next year, is to get out of debt and then start doing other things with our finances and start saving for kids and investing and real estate and do all the stuff that people never want to talk about, which I know I will talk about on my channel, because a lot of it's just the personal growth, the development, the knowing your money. That's just been such a huge thing that's helped me propel me with all the things I'm doing outside of my full-time job. And why I work so hard is because it's just like this fog of like everyone's taboo fog of don't talk about money, don't talk about finances, like all of that's been lifted. And now I can just see, like, when I see somebody that has a really nice sports car, I don't get like, oh,
Upset.
they're probably a dick.
Judgy.
Yeah. I'm always like, I wonder what they do for work, but not even like, I just like curious, like, how'd you make your money, or how did you build your wealth, and it's very interesting to me. So, that's the long and short of my goals for next year, is the YouTube channel, my course, my freelance work, and then debt freedom. So
awesome. And I love that you're clear about that. I definitely wish you the best on that. I also agree, change your mentality on money. I mean, as an artist, I had horrible negative relationship with money. And it wasn't until I started meeting wealthy people that I was doing videos for that were also like really good people that I realized, you know what, this is like truly like middle class and lower class brainwashing to have this negative association with money, because money, it's just what you do. I mean, what this guy who's really wealthy, what he told me, he ended up becoming a mentor, is he said, money just accentuates who you are. If you're a douchebag before you have the money, you're just a bigger douchebag after. If you're a nice guy and you get more money, you're just a nice guy with more money. You know what I mean? And you could do more things with that money. And I saw that firsthand with like COVID, because like when COVID hit and all my, commercial work, like kind of disappeared, I kind of was like, well, let me pause for a second and just kind of figure out, do something for the community. So I kind of I did a GoFundMe, like a really small GoFundMe to raise money to get masks for like elderly people, and, I only raised like $1,500 or something like that. And it was, but the thing is, like, another person I know who's wealthy called me and was like, hey, where are you getting these masks from? Because I happen to have like a distributor. And he's like, I was like, oh, let me connect you. And like, while I'm on the phone with him, he orders 50,000 masks for like his community and his family members and the people he cares about. And I'm like, wow, that is truly the power of wealth. Like, you can press a button and you can just make a decision that affects a lot of other people. And so yeah, I'm fully with you, man. I mean, I think you're ahead of the curve probably for everything you've done and learned, and the fact that you're working so hard already. I think that's great. When I was your age, I was just doing drugs and really screwing up my life. And, like, if I could go back, obviously I'd be doing it more like you. So I think, to anybody that's kind of has a negative relationship to money or to the idea of working hard and stuff, just stick around and eventually you'll grow out of it.
Sure. Yeah, I would say with my biggest advice with that is like, surround yourself with the people you want to be. So if you want to be wealthy, like, figure out ways to get engaged and network and attached to those people. Ask the wealthiest person hey, what can I do for you? Like, what are you struggling with? And solve that person's problems, because when you surround yourself with those types of people, you get opportunities like nobody's business. And they know people that can get you work, or that can help propel your business or get you whatever you need to do. So, I think changing your money mindset's a huge key. And then also just like, quit resenting rich people, because they all worked for it really hard. You just didn't know who they were before that.
Yeah.
Every person that I know that's wealthy that I shoot videos for that owns a business that has money now, they sacrificed for 10 years and completely ate dog crap, and no one knew who they were. So we live in America. It's not like these people are all princes that inherited money that just, you worked for it. And the sooner that you get through your, like you said, that middle class mindset, the sooner that you realize that you're not a victim, that you can literally go and start a business right now with a freaking camera and make a multiple 6, 7, 8 figure business. Like,
crazy.
Get out of here. So that's why I'm fired up. I'm excited because there's opportunity.
Yeah.
I'm willing to work for it, and I know what I want in life, and I'm going to go get it no matter what. So
I love that, dude. I support that. Yeah, 100% agree. So with that being said, how can people follow you? I mean, we kind of showed a lot of this, but how would you like people, or actually what's your Facebook group called again?
Sure. It's the Freelance Videographer Community.
Mm-hmm.
So you can find me on Facebook there. We've got a group of about 17,000 people or so. Mm-hmm. Feel free to join that. And then also I'm on YouTube, just Ryan Snaad, Snaadt. Mm-hmm. And then I also share all my videos on the Solo Video Pro blog. So if you just want to learn more about the course, the mini course, all the stuff on the blog, you can go to solovideopro.com. Mm-hmm. You can check that out. And since Henry was saying he was endorsing the course, I'm sure I can get you guys a discounted code that we can put in the show notes or something.
Oh, it would be amazing. Yeah, let's work that out. I think that, I mean, with the Videography Association that I'm starting, and we could talk more offline about it, you know, my idea is to build a community and a marketplace and share the courses that I believe in and the people I believe in and stuff, because I'm definitely of that mindset. So yeah, we'll talk about it. You guys stay tuned. I'll definitely do an email blast for everybody to share a discount code and pass that value on to you guys, because I think it's worth checking out.
Absolutely. Yeah. My last advice really is just like, if you're a videographer that's struggling, or you're looking to point a finger at the coronavirus or the market or people that don't have budgets or whatever, like, you just have to realize that, like, the world isn't just going to stop for you. Like, you have to find a way to make it work. There's so many ways to make it work. There's so many industries. There's so many sub niches of video. There's YouTube, there's crewing. There's just so many ways you can make an impact in this industry with your skill set that you have. So I would just recommend people stay positive, be solution focused, and try and solve the problems, and don't be so quick to turn it there. So
there we go. You heard it from the man himself. Thanks for being on the podcast.